What up, everybody? Hey, man, lots of energy, lots of excitement today. And I think it's because, man, my give a shit tank is absolutely full. And I'm going to say it. My gas give a shit tank is full. So, hey, welcome to the Moving the Military podcast. Matt Grudel, Deana Watson. And Deana, man, let's just go ahead and jump in. Man, we had an absolutely great weekend. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, so this is going to be a little different than the stuff we normally talked about. We had a topic picked out for our military-focused podcast, and ironically, the topic was, is your content forced and fake? And then about 3 minutes in on the third take, we realized that we were trying to force something that just wasn't going to work today. So you will never see that podcast. We'll never see the light of day because it got deleted before it got started. But we're going to have more of a life conversation, a business conversation. It will tie back into military real estate at some point. But this past weekend, we were with, I think it was 14 other people. No, we made 14. I think it was 14 or 15 of us that are part of a group that Matt and I run called the Ascension Mastermind. And almost every person there was military at the top of their game. And this is where it all ties in. They are the top agents in their city in the military focused niche. And about a year ago, Matt, we sat and dreamt up this idea that we had never seen before in the way we were going to do it. And this weekend, the Ascension retreat number 1 of the year was all of that coming true and all of that manifesting in a physical space. And so I guess what happened was we went to the mountains in North Georgia with 16 of us, and we dug in to what does it look like to have a big life, not just a big business, and to align your business with your values and your focus for your life going forward. And man, the revelations of things that happened in this weekend for people and for us were quite profound, which is why I think that trying to do a military podcast only felt forced because it's not what we wanted to talk about today.
Well, and it's not what's literally exuding from us. I mean, I think we spent a couple hours on calls back and forth today talking about this, and it does tie in because every person in that room is the top 1% in the military real estate niche in their area. They are the authority. They are putting out the right marketing. Everything they're doing is actually felt, yet it wasn't about that. They've ascended to that level of success. Now it's about actually, now once you are the authority, how do you actually live your life like the authority? And that's what we did this weekend.
Yeah, so we were there for 2 days total. It was like 2 nights and then like a half day. But let's kind of go back more, Matt, to the origin story of all of this. You know, we're going to just riff today, you guys. So if you don't want to hear us ramble, then you should just probably click off of this. But I think you'll get some really cool nuggets. And we're leading by example in this because this is our very first one of these. And it came from feeling completely caged and stuck about a year ago. And instead of just continuing to be caged and stuck, we said, okay, what are we going to do about this? And what do we want? And what do we want to build that matches our values and our vision for our lives, and then just bring people into that? So, Matt, go back to and tell the story of deep in detail, if you don't mind. How did this all start?
It started with a realization that me and you were caged. We were the authority in the military space in what we were doing in regards to real estate. We had the accolades, we had the authority, we were positioned, and yet we felt caged. It goes back to, and we use the word ascend for a reason. We had ascended a mountain following somebody else's blueprint, and we got to the top of it, and we both looked back and said, man,
did we get up here?
Yeah, why? This is not where I wanted to fucking be. This is not the view I was looking for. This does not feel like it's supposed to feel. And we realized in that point that we had ascended a mountain that wasn't ours to ascend and that we didn't want to be on. And then we looked back and we said, we cannot be the only ones feeling this way.
Yeah. So then what? I mean, keep going. So then what happened?
Well, and then we sat down and we planned it out and we said, if it's not us, what's the actual problem? What's the actual problem? Are other people having this problem? Why are we best suited to solve this problem? And we just went on this planning phase of let's literally put it on paper. Let's whiteboard what it would look like to move past that. What would we need in our life? What type of awareness, self-leadership, intentional living, freedom. Because here's the bottom line, everybody watching this. You're in the military space of real estate because you have that credibility and that's what you came from. But you're in real estate because you're looking for freedom. The freedom to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, where you want, and give what you want. And a lot of times you put yourself in this box that somebody else has created and you're never able to find that freedom. So we said, how do we sit down? How do we take these top producers, this top 1%, and give back to them, create that self-awareness to where they take their life back and have a level of freedom that isn't controlled by somebody else's narrative, by somebody else's blueprint, by somebody else's plan for them, so that real estate does not just take over and control their life. More importantly, real estate is not your identity. Real estate is not your freaking purpose. Real estate, and you say it so eloquently, is the gas in your purpose vehicle. How do we take this group of people and ascend to where we're not putting regular gasoline in, we're putting some high octane racing fuel in their shit for their life, not their business?
Well, and I want to go to this, and you guys, this is not scripted today at all. So this might go a little squirrely for a minute, but in order to give that to somebody else, we had to give it to ourselves. Right. So we knew, we had this realization of like, okay, we are in a cage. We got to the top of the mountain. And for clarification, for anyone who was on that journey with us listening, we wanted to climb the mountain. We were
Yeah, we did.
happy to climb the mountain. And to be quite frank with you, our egos were fulfilled for a really long time, climbing that mountain and being the guy that everybody went to and being the person who was on the stages and teaching the classes. Like, we thought for so many years, for about 2, maybe 1.5 to 2 of the 3 years, we thought we were doing the right thing. And at that time, I think we were doing what was right for us at that time. But the interesting phenomenon that happens for all of us is that as we are growing and as we are evolving, our goalpost is moving, and normally we don't notice it. We get to the top of a goalpost or cross a finish line that we set 2-3 years before, but not realizing that it doesn't feel the way you think it should because you've grown for those 2 or 3 years and you've not reevaluated where you wanted the goalpost to be now. And so, for clarification, anyone listening to this that was on that journey with us, we were at that time right where we thought we should have been.
Well,
And
and not only that, we were right where here's the thing, and let's just clear this up.
yeah,
We were right where we wanted to be. Let's not do it. We wanted to be where we were at. We wanted everything that was there, but that want was in that season of our life. And that want and that season of our life allowed us to grow to a goal and then realize, okay, we're here. We've arrived to a certain level, and this is not where we really wanted to be. So we wanted to do everything we were doing in
mhm,
that season, but it allowed us to actually assess and become aware that maybe that's not where we actually really wanted to go. What do we need to do now to
right.
ascend our way with our plan and our path?
Yeah, and I think 3-4 years ago when we first were put on that path, we were both at that time, at least I know I was. I didn't know you before our paths intersected in this, but I was looking for freedom. I was looking for a way out of running a really large real estate business that felt like it was suffocating me. And interestingly enough, that step into KW military was a freedom step for me personally, and I think it was for you too for a
Oh yeah,
different.
I was looking to get out of being the CEO Monday through Friday and clock in, clock out, running a brokerage, doing all those things. It was great, but there's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, a lot of things that go, especially when you're somebody like me that's done 21 plus years in the service, following orders, doing all of the things, having all the expectations on you. I was looking for a level of freedom that was different, and yet I put myself in the same situation looking for the same level of freedom.
Well, what I think about this whole thing as we look in the rear view on it is we were searching for freedom without having defined at that time exactly what freedom meant. So this thing that was just a little more free than the other thing looked like the right path. And so we're like, I don't know, looks good to me. Let's go this way. And so, for clarification, I think that even back then, Matt, we were looking for a level of freedom that we found. It was more free than the thing we stepped out of. But then at a certain point down that path, we were like, shit, I forgot to define exactly the parameters of freedom. And this only fits like 30% of that.
Well,
It
think
doesn't.
about the average real estate agent, man. That's just think about it. I'll take it back to moving the military real estate. Think about that top 1% agent that's like, my God, like literally, I have leverage. I have a TC. I have an assistant. I have these things and I'm crushing it. I'm doing great. Man, I want freedom. Because I never defined what freedom is, I think because I'm told what the blueprint is, I'm told what I should do next, I'm going to go start a team because if I start a team, now everybody on teams, man, we have teams for different reasons.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going to go
well,
start
back
a team.
off. We're not trying to hurt. We're
Yeah,
just
we're not.
putting
Yeah, because
our
but I'm just
truth.
saying though,
This
we
is
didn't.
our truth.
Most people, and not everybody, but most people define. They would instead of defining freedom, they say, "I'm going to go start a team because I have a team and I have all these people working for me and all these people doing. I'm going to have a new level of freedom." And yet, you may, but it's only like this. But when
Yeah.
you add all the other things that comes on top of that, that freedom just goes away. And so because we didn't define the freedom, just like many agents don't define what freedom actually looks like and feels like, they jump to the first thing that they think may give them a little bit of freedom,
Yeah, or a little bit more freedom than they
a
have
little bit
now,
more
which is
freedom.
still
Yeah,
the right way to go. I think sometimes we have to walk the path to rule it out. You know, it's like you gotta touch the stove to know the stove's hot, but once you realize it's hot, you're like, "Alright, I think I'm good, I don't need to do that again." And you said something that was important is, like, in that season of our lives, that's exactly what we needed, and I'm gonna say something I don't think I've ever said to you, and I'm just speaking my own truth.
say it.
I think I needed so when we let's rewind. When we stepped into KW military, we had this conversation that like this was going to be the thing. Like this was going to be the thing that got rid of all of our financial problems, all of our time freedom problems. We could do it from anywhere, our location freedom problems. Hang on.
This was going to create the life worth living.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. And then we were met with the reality of our own lid. Okay. We didn't know it at the time. We blamed everybody else for it quietly. That's the one thing I'm really proud of us for is although we were struggling the entire time, people didn't know that. And people had no clue what was going on between the two of us behind the scenes and how hard of a season that was for about 2 years. And I'm very proud of us for keeping all of that to ourselves, and it will always remain to ourselves. But I, I think that that's like leadership on our part.
Absolutely.
But when
Well,
we
that's a high road leader. A low road leader just goes ahead and plays victim and dumps it on everybody else. A mid road leader wobbles back and forth. We decided we're going to take the high road. We're going to compartmentalize all of the things inside of us, but we're going to continue to lead without anybody knowing what's actually going on.
Yeah, but what was actually going on behind the surface was that we didn't know what we didn't know, and we were unwilling, I think, to go learn what we didn't know to fix the problem that we were like experiencing. I also don't know that we would have been able to pinpoint in the moment the problem we were having, but what both of us came out of, and here's where the honesty part comes in. You came out of success in your area of leadership. I came out of success in my area of team building, but and anyone who's ever been with either of us is going to laugh at this because they probably knew this years ago. Neither one of us ever had to actually do the fucking thing ourselves. We were leading and casting vision and then telling everybody else what to do. So these ships looked beautiful. Like yours looked beautiful, your market center, my team looked beautiful. Everybody was rowing in the right direction and we were leading the charge, but we weren't having to go take a job at the back of the boat. And so we came into this, and I've never said this out loud. We came into this thinking that it was going to be the same. But then we looked around and there were just two of us. And we were like, we have all these big ideas and we have all, and Chris Ann obviously was there too, but we have all of these things and we don't have a staff of 5 people to do the job. And it was on us. And we were like, this isn't possible. And we're going broke because of this. And like, you know, we want to do these things, but we can't. And at a time,
What's funny is when you say that, like, you're exactly right. I mean, you're back there with the map and the compass, plotting the course. I'm beating the drum and I'm looking left and right
and
and
I'm back
nobody's
here
fucking
with you.
rowing. There's no one to row the boat. It's right. So then I'm row, and you're like planting and rowing. Chris Ann's back there trying to get the mop and trying to get us straight, right? Yeah.
Trying to get the water out of the boat.
That's the way it was. And yet and so here's the reason we're telling you that's sometimes how you have to learn. That's sometimes how you have to grow.
Where I was going with all of this is that being humbled and failing at that because people thought it was a success. And in a lot of ways, it was. It was a great success for us. It was a great success for the company. It was a great success for the community.
It was a phenomenal success for the community and the people involved in it.
Correct. But by our metric now, that was a learning opportunity for us. It was a failure of ours over time, and it was a learning opportunity. But the thing that gifted us that we would not have had otherwise was the ability to see our own blind spots and to see, like, in this season and moving the military and Ascension and what we're creating now, we now have to cast the vision, and then both of us run to the back, and then we get a job and start rowing, and then we're like, all right, cool, we made it here. Where are we going next? And so I don't think we would have had the gift of being humbled because both of us came into that opportunity at the top of our game. And we probably needed to be humbled by our lack of like execution because both of us hadn't had to do that role in such a long time that having that fail in the way that it did internally between the two of us, it didn't fail. We failed within it, if that makes any sense. But I think that's probably what we needed in that season of life was like that thing came to show us where our blind spots were in putting together a company and a vision the size we have today. We wouldn't be able to execute the way we do right now if it weren't for that experience.
Well, I think it not only humbled us, I think the other thing too is it made me myself dive deeper into all the different things because I really honestly got to a point to where, and I've heard it been said before, and you know I say it all the time, there's going to come a time where your natural ability is going to get exposed. My natural ability was getting exposed not to others, but to myself, which was worse. Like I literally started creating self-doubt, worthiness, because my natural ability was getting exposed internally, which was a great humbling experience, which gave me the willingness to go and do another level internally so I could deliver it externally.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, it was a great and humbling experience, but it felt like we were getting our shit kicked in every single
Man.
day for years. I mean, it was, uh, and I'm not exaggerating, but it was awful.
Here's what it was, everybody, and we said this before, and this is what it was. It was the sound of music in Apocalypse Now. That's what it was. It was literally us up there dancing on top of the hill, sound of music, dancing around, and before you knew it, artillery rounds were coming in. We were getting sniped out. We were diving for cover. There was no bunkers built, and then it was it was the sound of music meets Apocalypse Now. That's what it was.
Yeah, I don't know. We've also not ever talked about this. We try really hard to keep everything that has happened kind of under wraps just because what our truth is and what other people's truth of the situation, they're not going to match, and that's okay. But yeah, Matt, it felt like for years we were just getting our teeth kicked in every single day. And it was of our own making, but I
Yeah.
don't think at the time we knew that
I
that was.
fault, I fault nobody.
No, it's us.
It is absolutely nobody's fault. It is 100% us, right? Unaligned expectations, unaligned values, unaligned mission, unaligned purpose that we continually forced
Yeah.
to where it just didn't feel real anymore. It wasn't natural. There became a time where I started losing myself because I felt like a facade of fake because I couldn't be authentically me. Man, I am like the greatest piece I've been in so many years because I am just authentically me now.
Yeah. That and I think, sometimes we had the Ascension retreat this weekend and one of the hot topics was that everyone's standards and expectations for people that come into their world is like so high and people don't meet those. And in true military agent fashion, people just chop them off and they're like, fine, get out of here. Like, go on. There's not this, our military agents are so amazing, but the one thing that they all need work on is the ability to reflect about their own DNA in the situation and to figure out, okay, where are they not setting the right expectations? Where are they not taking the time to make sure the person's values match? And we only see all of those things today because we didn't do all of those things. We got excited about an opportunity that we thought was the road to ultimate freedom. And instead of saying, wait a minute, let me ask you this, and this. The one thing we did really well was we did that with each other.
Mhm.
We made sure that each other, which is why we're still in business together. We made sure that each other had aligned values and business ideas. But then we didn't turn around and do it to the opportunity we stepped into. So
Because there was a slice of freedom that we could see, that we could smell, that we could taste, and we just jumped right at it. And I'm not going to say it was desperation, but in a way,
it kind of
there
was.
was this desperate need for another level of freedom. We saw what the opportunity that it could be, and instead of, like you said, instead of crawl, walk, running, instead of
Well,
stepping back
instead
and
of
asking
asking
questions.
who's going to build this with us, we were
Yeah,
just like, yeah, we can do anything. And
you
we
talking
could
about we
at our
decided
first.
to do, normal Matt, brute force and ignorance.
Mhm. Yeah, normal Dina strategy and, vision, and those 2 things don't even work to fucking together, so that's been interesting between the 2 of us. But, we say all of that to say that every one of you has a version of the same thing, right? Whether you're building a team or whether you're, just getting into real estate for the first time and you're not understanding why nothing feels right or whatever. I think the lesson in all of this is that every time you ascend into a new room or a new opportunity or whatever, you have to check the 360 degrees around that opportunity to make sure that it fits, to make sure that it fits right now in this season of life, and to make peace with whatever you're going to have to sacrifice to get that thing. And so, to make a really long story short, and we'll wrap this part up, once we realized that it wasn't fitting anymore, we spent another year trying to force it and thinking, well, this is our fault. Let's lower our expectations. And we lowered our expectations, but we didn't increase our execution, which then just created stagnation. And both of us aren't stagnant people. So that's where things started like tearing at both of us and we became personally miserable. Um, which being miserable in a business relationship where each of you tell you to get your head out of your ass just creates a lot of fun conversations.
Yeah, I don't I mean, it was it was a weekly conversation of, "Okay, Dina, say pop. What's pop? Pop's your head coming out of your ass. Matt, say pop. Pop's your head coming out of your like, literally, that's what happened, and we got to the point where we
It was
realized
just
that
like a little hamster wheel that
yeah,
we
well,
were.
it goes back to this, and something that, we both say is that, "Man, you were either green and growing or ripe and rotty," right?
Mhm.
And that's where we were at.
Yeah. And then I think what happened next is the part that most people don't ever make it to, which is the opportunity and the whole thing, I believe, was seeing it for what it was, seeing it for what it wasn't going to be and what it couldn't fulfill within us, and seeing the things that we needed to do. And then making the decision to jump and, like, leave was really important because I don't think there's a world, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think there's a world in which either one of us could have incrementally made enough changes to get ourselves to the level of, like, feel good that we have right now within that same container. I don't know for me if it would have been possible without having, like, to massively strip everything away and start from the ground floor and ask myself, like, okay, you're here at the bottom of this barrel now. Nobody knows who you are. You're new. What are you going to do to prove yourself again? And I don't think that I don't know. I'm not going to speak for you, but I know that I couldn't have the level of like peace around what we're doing, trying to make incremental changes in the other box.
No, and I 100% agree with you because you know me. I believe that you either live caged, comfortable, or charged. I would have continued to be, I would have felt a little charged. I would have started something. I would have got comfortable again, which then would have caged me. And then I would have had all that resentment. And I would have been there. And I would have been, here's the other thing too, staying would have allowed me to revert back to my natural ability. Would have allowed me to go back to doing just enough, getting comfortable enough, which would have made me caged again. Making the jump put me so far out of my comfort zone that I had no choice but to live a charged life, to become charged, to do something different. And that's where I'm at now. And I love it.
Well, let me ask you, like, what has that, like, let's look back for the last 6 months. Like, what has this experience been like for you in having to start over and start from literally zero and I mean, honestly, part of it too is being worried every day that we're saying or doing something we shouldn't. Because we did not leave and want to violate anything that we signed or any agreements that we made. And so there is this there is this dance between like living charged, but also, and you've yelled at me a couple times, don't go back to the cage and live charged, but stay in the okay zone for what we're doing. So what has that experience been like for you?
I think it's given me a new set of guardrails, right? And I think that's what it's really done is it's given me a set of guardrails that's allowing me to go as fast as I want to go, right? That's the importance of having guardrails, is that I can go as fast as I want to go my way down the highway, but there's guardrails, right? The other thing too is, we talk about freedom, and freedom isn't just financial freedom. Like that, we always say that it's not just financial freedom, it's freedom in my mind. Freedom in the weight that I feel like I dumped 100 pounds of weight that I was carrying mentally on trying to fit in this box this way. And it was so against my identity. The other thing, too, is, for all of our veterans watching, I felt like I was back in that identity crisis again. Like when I got out the service, I had an identity crisis. Who is Command Sergeant Major Brutal and who is Matt? And what I realized is that I put myself back into there. Where does, once I got through that and I figured out who I was when I got out, man, like, I tell you all the time, it's kind of like Bruce Banner and the Hulk. I like figured out how to bring them together. Well, once again, I was in another identity crisis of, man, this is what I really want to say. This is what I really want to do. But I got to play this political game. And it just started eating at my identity again. So I think that one of the things that happened is I refound my identity. I refound who I actually am, which once again fills my give a shit tank, which I have more energy mentally and physically now that I can be who I truly am
Mm.
versus holding back. I felt like, and me and you said it a million times, I felt like a Kentucky racehorse. We just had the Kentucky Derby. I
Mhm.
felt like a thoroughbred with the right jockey on me in the gate, fully trained, ready to go, snorting like a mad horse, but the gate wouldn't fucking open. And I
Well,
was just banging it the entire time.
and sometimes I want to be extremely clear with this conversation. Sometimes the gate wasn't open because we
Oh,
closed it. Like,
well, no. Sometimes the pin, yeah, no, the pin was out the gate, and all we had to do, let's just be honest. Sometimes but we hit the gate so many times that when the pin was removed, then all we had to do was nudge it and take off, because that's what happens. Like the horse hits the gate and it go right. It was there, but because it was closed so many times, I just didn't go through it, even though I could have.
yeah. Yeah, because I think that depending on how someone's listening to this conversation, they may take it away that we don't intend it to be. So, just to clear up this part and then we'll talk about the Ascension thing. There was, looking back 6 months out of this decision, there was nothing wrong with the box that we were in, the company we were in, the opportunity we were in. That all was on us at the end. We did not notice it. I think that we probably made it seem, we told ourselves a lot of stories in the last 12 months that some of which were great points, very valid, very true, also very value drifty. And could we have reorganized how we did everything to make it work? Sure. But I think that the thing that has set us both on fire was having to go back to being scrappy like we used to be, go back to creating whatever we wanted, go back to the day, because I've answered this question a few times the last year is, when did you feel your best? Like, when do you remember in the past decade feeling your absolute best? And it was in 2014 whenever I was just selling real estate by myself. Everything was simple. No one was telling me what I could or couldn't do, where I had to be, when I had to be there, or what I had to do to prepare for something. Nothing. It was just, nobody knows me, and I'm going to prove myself to you, to the world, all of that. And I don't want anyone listening to think that this could not be happening in the other company. It could have been. We could have just said, hey, we're done with this. Let's go build this here. But I think what had to happen for both of us is that we had to go back to where we put ourselves back in the corner to bring back the fight that we had to get ourselves out of the corner. So,
It's a fun. Here's the thing. It was a phenomenal box with multiple success, and I would not be where I'm at without being in that box. And there's so many people that literally are thriving in that box. But the realization was that box just wasn't the right box for me in the next season of my life. And for me to have that next season of my life, for me to ascend to my next level where I could look around and say, this is the view I wanted. This is where I wanted to be. I had to knock down a wall of the box and get out of it. There was nothing wrong with the box.
yeah, I think sometimes what we're trying to say, and we'll move on, is I think sometimes you have to force growth whenever you're not brave enough to do it yourself. And I think that there have been, and even in the last month and a half. There
Month and
were
a half.
moments there are moments that we haven't been brave enough to make the changes that we needed to make all throughout the last year and a half until we forced our hand into a decision that was necessary that we had to climb back out of. So I think that's yeah, do we feel more aligned where we are now and what we're doing now and moving the military and all that? Yes. But I also think that to get here we had to force ourselves back to irrelevance to bring back the spirit that was left on the floor a decade ago for both of us, right?
Well,
And
that's the
so
same thing about real estate agents right now. The real estate agents watching this, right? You may need to force yourself to do something different, something that feels uncomfortable, and it may be something lead generation wise. It may be something social media wise. It may be, you may have to, and that's the whole point of this conversation is that take it back to real estate. You may be doing great where in what you're doing right now, but do you need to change it up? Do you need to do something different? A different lead generation wise? Do you need to go back to doing something? Do you need to do something on social media? Do you need to get out there and get in front of people? Do you need to pick the damn phone up, right? There's something that you may have to do to get yourself to that next level because you got to where you're at. Is that where you want to be? Is that the ultimate level of freedom for you? Or is it time to ascend the next mountain for that next level of freedom? Self-freedom, leadership freedom, intentional living.
yeah, and then so what happens next is that, as we left all of that, we started this in February of 2025. So to many people in the outside looking in, it felt like, whoa, what just happened? The way that everything transpired, I think it was not no one really saw it coming, to be honest, because we did keep everything that we were feeling so under wraps because it was for the greater good of the company and the community and all of that. And so for majority of people, when we announced we were leaving, we actually didn't announce when we announced that we were stepping down from our role, we actually didn't have the intention to leave altogether. We were going to try to make this thing make sense. And then, of course, it
Things
became,
happened.
yeah, things happened. It became really clear that because I had played with it for a little while, but it became pretty clear that we were going to leave. And fast forward, about a year before that, we had this idea that we were going to do coaching specifically our own way and create another product. And at that time, everything was kosher and we were good to go. We were creating it because something still felt off that we were looking to fulfill. And so we sat down at one of the conferences in the hotel lobby and we started scratching this thing out from nothing. And we said, okay, for the Ascension group.
Well, I think, but let's step back a little bit. I think it also started when you and I both went to Maxwell and we became Maxwell certified, and we were around that group of people, and both of us said, "This is our people, man." Like this is, and we literally, and for people that don't know, Dean and I we just come in and dominate. We just came in and took over the entire floor area of a sitting area, and we had books and maps and papers mapped out all over the floor. It started there. The origin of the idea of ascension and going to the next level and creating freedom started there. And then it kind of went away. We drifted from it, trying to make something else work. And then boom, there we are
Yes,
at
about
a
a year
conference sitting. I don't even know. I think we were sitting in a Mexican restaurant,
we were.
sitting there, and we just literally pulled out, and we always pull out your iPad because and you can draw all over that thing. And we started mapping this out February 25.
Yeah, so it was a year after the idea that we actually started putting it into place. And what we looked at was, okay, we got to the top of our mountain in our business and then at KW Military. And we basically said, okay, we looked around and realized, okay, cool, we climbed this, but we're up here by ourselves. And there's really, we really wanted something different. And so we took that whole concept of like leadership is lonely and the climb is lonely, and we all think we're chasing some sort of validation that's not there when we get there, and like all these components of it. And we said, okay, we don't want to create another coaching program. We don't want to create a program where people just show up once a week and that's it. What we realized through leading that community was that the community part was the part that filled our gas tank. It was
The
seeing
experiences.
the experiences we were creating for people, the relationships we were bridging together. Um, I love all the classes that we did, but that whole 3-year experience that was like the biggest deal for us were the 2 times a year that everybody came together
Well,
and
when we could watch them reconnect, when we
Mhm.
could watch them hug each other, when we could watch them cry around each other and
Yeah.
share with each other and be so excited just to be in each other's presence, that was the experience that we were looking for and that we knew the highest performers in real estate needed more of.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that as we wove all this stuff together, we knew that we wanted a couple components. We knew that we wanted there to be a couple of experiences that the group would have together. We also were really clear that we wanted it to be a group that went together through the same content for the whole year, because then every conversation became more powerful and everyone was having a similar yet very different experience, and everyone was learning the same things at the same time. Because when you bring people together that have all of these different vantage points and they're not all thinking in the same direction, the conversations feel forced. Everyone's talking about their own agenda instead of the collective growth of the group. And so we started, like, I would say, like, Frankensteining this idea together of all the best pieces of things that we've been to. Like, we talked earlier today that until this retreat, you'd never been to one, but I had been to a ton of them because of yoga retreats and meditations and mental health and all these other things I had gone through. And so I was like, okay, well, it has to be a retreat. And so we literally just, like, mind mapped out this ultimate coaching experience where there would be a little bit of coaching one to one, because part of our freedom path is time freedom. So we didn't want to trade one thing for another thing and have it both lack time freedom. So we wanted a lot of time freedom for ourselves. We wanted togetherness and community and similarity in the content for them. And then we wanted these epic experiences a couple times a year that would just propel them forward together instead of one at a time. And what was birthed out of that was this idea of the Ascension Mastermind experience,
And I
where,
think one of the hardest things when we built this was the structure, right? Because we've been coaching for so long. There's structure in all of our coaching sessions, but every person's individual, everybody's different. And so, depending on where you're at in your business and your experience in your life and the market, all that stuff, right? The structure around, hey, here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this group of people on this path. And there's going to be benchmarks and checks, and this is the road we're going to take, and it's going to be structured so that when we got to the actual experience we just had, they are all set up for success and openness. They've experienced the same things. So the connection is faster. The connection is deeper. It's, quicker, all those different things. And so that was hard to actually lay out and get
well,
out of our own way of doing that. But that is where the Maxwell certifications, that is where the NLP, that is where the CHPC through Brendan Burchard, through all the IPEC, all those different things came together.
well, I think the one thing that was the hardest part of all of it was something that you haven't mentioned, which was what I did with Rory Vaden's people, which is, like, get really clear on the problem you're positioned to solve. Because I think that if we hadn't done that, this would not have worked because everyone would have a same problem. And I thought about this last night. I was like, how did I know that my portion of this experience worked? And you have your own portion, right, that we all brought. And I remember them saying on the last day that they all realized that they all had the same problem, and I was like, "Bitch, you won."
Yeah.
Because that was the precipice of all of it, was like, what's the problem we can solve? And you have to get really clear on the problem and the components of the problem and how people arrive to the problem and speaking to the problem and identifying people who have the problem. And y'all, that took me a year to work through all that
Well,
stuff.
and I think the second part of it is it's not just you, you worked so hard. We all had our own, me and you had our own piece in this is what's the problem we're trying to solve? Like, how do we actually, through all of our years of coaching and everybody, let's get to it. Well, then the hardest part, in my opinion, was will this group of people admit or are they aware they actually have that problem? And here's what we experienced for 90 days. They would kind of scratch the surface on admitting, they would kind of scratch the surface on being aware, but
In that
the
room.
in the room, at the retreat, in the environment that was created, the way the crawl, walk, run of what actually happened, sitting on the porch, doing all the different things, the last day, and that's exactly what they said, Deana. They were fully aware that there's a shared experience in the problem that the top 1% of real estate that's working at this level have. They admitted it,
They
and
cried together over it.
yeah, like they admitted it. We went through a lot of boxes of tissues, and more importantly, they were aware. They left that room that retreat aware. And in fact, they are so aware. I had to silence notifications on the text message because they are just going back and forth, supporting each other around being the solution to the problem that they all now will admit and are aware of.
Yeah, and I don't know that they'll admit it outside of this little group, but the other part of why this is such a success and why we're gonna continue to do it is because we've now built in this support system for people who've listened to some of the most, I don't know how to even say this. Some of the people who are the most hardened to the world that you will ever see are people who came out of military service. Some of the people whose emotions are more closed off than anybody else you'll ever meet come from the military service. Like there's some people who have been taught you don't share your experience or your struggles with anybody come from the military service. People who've been taught to carry things alone, I could go on. But the coolest part to me is that when you bring together all types of people from different walks of life who've never crossed paths, but they all share something in
And
common,
that one commonality.
it starts to open people up to each other. So I don't know that they'll go back home and share with anybody else that they've gone through these things, but they at least now have 15 other people in this group that they've heard cry, they've heard stressed out, they've heard their issues, they've heard their dreams. Like how cool of an accountability is that that we took them through on day 1. What is your level 10 life? And 15 other people got to hear about your level 10 life that actually are invested in you.
Well, and
So
they got to start off with, hey, what's the area of your life we're actually going to have breakthroughs on? And what was so cool about it is we gave them 6 different areas, and yet there was only 2
there's
that
like
most
2,
of them
yeah.
picked, and a majority picked 1. And then they elicited their values around it and talked about the things that are hindering them and their limiting beliefs and obstacles, right? And then to have them actually, and here's the great thing, like they're holding each other level to holding each other accountable to a level that we ourselves weren't able to get them to right away in 90 days.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, this whole thing's been really interesting. So the concept of this, just for anybody listening, is that this is our only place where in the future we coach people is because we have now seen the power of bringing all of those things together instead of just doing them in isolation. Because many people have one-to-one coaches. I mean, hell, I've done almost 6,000 hours of one-on-one in my life. And many people go to these little virtual masterminds online, and a few people go on retreats, but none of them had ever done all 3 things together with the same group. And so the power that we realized we have and the unique spin that we bring to the real estate world is through Ascension. And the other part of it is there's only so many spaces because we have realized the cap for how many human beings can truly connect in that way. Um, and I don't know, I'm excited for whatever happens next. I know we've got one more retreat this year in October, and we gotta start planning that sometime soon, but it
Well,
was a
and I
really
love what
cool
you
week.
said because it truly, and I think that I love what you said is the fact that we combine the best of everything. Like literally, we took one to ones, right, and said, hey, here's what it's going to be. It's going to be a 45-minute, twice a month, one to one with this curated material to get you to this point.
Mhm.
Then we're going to add in the layer of open masterminds. And the masterminds are all around what they've actually been going through in the one to one. So it's not separate. You're not just showing up having no idea. It's actually crawl, walk, and then we're running because now we're bringing these shared experiences together in a retreat. So it's the best of all 3 combined into one, which is unique because not many people, if anybody, are actually doing that.
Yeah, I don't know of anybody doing it that way in the military real estate space at all. I know that there are, like, women's groups and men's groups and strong dads groups and all of these things that have those retreats and stuff, but I don't know that I've seen it in the real estate space, and I know I haven't seen it in the military real estate space. Most of the time, what you see are these, like, epic trips, but it's one trip, one weekend together with a group of people, and then they all disperse and they don't spend any more time together. I don't know that I've seen an experience-based coaching and mastermind program with one group of people learning in one direction to solve one massive problem for a single year. I don't think that that's a thing until now. So, no, it was fun.
But hey, if you're watching this and you're like, man, this sounds great, here's the deal. If you're a real estate agent, man, just go out there and challenge yourself. Look at what you can do different. Look at the mountain you ascended and ask yourself a couple of questions. Is this where I actually wanted to be? Is this the view I wanted? Right? How did I get here? Can I do it again? Did I follow my blueprint or did I follow somebody else's blueprint? Because there's a difference, and I'll pull a Maxwellism out. There's a difference in going to a goal and growing to a goal. So many times people tell you what you need to do and you go do it and you cross that finish line and you ask yourself, how the hell did I get here? How do I do it again? That's going to a goal.
Well,
Growing to a goal is experiencing things as you get to that point.
I want to bring up one thing that you just kind of touched on. We didn't tell anybody this weekend what to do. That's not our role. That's not what this is about. What this is about is us. And that is the difference of going to a goal or growing to a goal, even in the coaching relationship. Most coaches will tell you, you have to do this, you need to do that, go run this play, go do that. That's not actually coaching. That's mentorship. What coaching
That's
truly
consulting.
it's consulting. And it sometimes that shit ain't even consulting. Like, if you don't know me intimately and you're telling me what to do, that's fucking malpractice. That's not
Yeah.
even consulting or coaching.
Yeah.
But what coaching really is taking the person in front of you, learning enough about their life, their values, their goals, their dreams, their agenda, and then positioning or facilitating a conversation that they then understand what they need to do. All we did this weekend was ask really powerful, very curated, by the way, questions in a certain sequence, in sessions built together in a certain sequence where they were having the ahas for themselves. And to the point, not everybody was working on the same thing. So as much as it was a group experience, Matt, I think it was probably very much a unique personal experience too.
Yeah. And I would say, here's the thing too. I would say that in a 2-hour session, me and you maybe talked 10 minutes, right? Maybe we talked, and I'll go back to something that both of us learned in NLP. This ascension was about becoming, right? A lot of questions around becoming. Too many times we're told what to do, but it really works this way. Who do I need to become to take the right actions, to do the things I need to do to have the results I desire and, more importantly, deserve? This weekend was about growth. That's the difference in going to a goal
Yeah.
and growing to a goal. Who do I need to become is how you grow to a goal so you can do it again, so you can continue to ascend, so you're prepared for that next mountain. If you go to a goal, you have no idea what you need to pack, what you
Right.
need to be prepared for, and how the fuck to ascend.
And more importantly, when you get there and it didn't work the way that you thought it would or should, you then have the ability to blame everybody else because you just went where they told you to go.
Yeah.
And so, and which is what's happened to both of us, which is why this is our style of coaching and leadership now is, hey, what should I do? I don't know. Because I don't know what your goals are. I don't know what your values are. I don't know what you're trying to
I
run
don't know
away
what you're going
from or
through right now. I don't
accomplish.
know what your life is right now. I don't know what season you're in. So let's dig into that.
Yeah, I think we have to. What we have learned and what we appreciate about what we're doing now is we refuse to give you advice without breaking bread with you first. Because until we fully understand, number one, the season of life you're in, the constraints you're at home, where your mental space is, all these other things, we don't want to give you the ability to create a plan that you can't sustain when you leave the conversation because that doesn't help anybody. And quite frankly, it's a waste of the most precious thing we all have, which is time.
And
And
and yeah, and
yeah.
I'll take it back to real estate. Once again, I'll tie it back to moving the military podcast real estate. And Deana, I say this something. We don't have a conversion problem. We have a connection problem. So if you just took everything we actually said and said, okay, how do I actually break bread? How do I understand the client across from me, the consumer? How do I connect at such a deep level that I can help them become the person, right, that takes the right action and do the things they need to purchase this home so they can have it? That's life changing. So everything we talked about translates directly to you as an individual real estate agent or you as a rainmaker with your team, getting to know your people at this level to help them help themselves to help the clients achieve what they desire.
Yeah, I think our ultimate goal, and I'll speak for myself and you can add whatever for you, in this stage of my life or season of my life, my goal is not to help people make progress. My goal is to help people make change. Because I think progress doesn't sustain it once things get hard. Change and changing who you are and what you believe and aligning those things together will last beyond whatever struggles you go through. And if I look in the rear view, I've spent the last 10 years helping people make progress, only to realize that they sometimes and oftentimes are making progress in a circle, and they come back every 3 months to the same problem. And so and I even text you unsolicited advice today, like when you break free of the cage you're in and you're standing and there's nothing around you that currently exists and you get to create every bit of it in alignment with whatever season you're in. And so when we created Ascension and even moving the military, all of this is now being created in complete alignment with the season we're in now. In 3 years, we may hate it all and want to go do something else. But for now, this is exactly, I think we talked earlier, after this weekend, we've proven to ourselves this is exactly where we're meant to be right now. And that's where we're going to be, is where our feet are. So,
And I think you said it, you said it in your way, but for a person, a leader that's a change agent at the heart, man, my desire is to help you transform. I don't want to just give you progress. I don't want to tell you. I want you to transform. I want you to self-discover. I want you to empower, to be aware, to take ownership, to make adjustments. Because if I tell you what you have to do, you're never going to be aware. You're never going to own it. And what's going to happen is you're going to drift for forever until something bad happens. A change agent is somebody that helps you break that perpetual cycle, that allows you to transform so that you can make adjustments and assess when you need to, that benefit you. I don't want you to follow any other blueprint than the best blueprint for you and your life, because that's happiness. That's freedom.
yeah. All right. Well, we've rambled long enough. Do you think that we accomplished what we came here to do today, or is there something else that we haven't shared that you think the people should know?
No, I think that we've accomplished what we needed
This
to
was a
accomplish.
therapy session for us. We were
Hey,
like, we need to talk about whatever we need to talk about. And if they want to listen, they listen. If not, that's fine too.
and
Come
here's
back.
the thing though, but here's the great thing about it. Everything we said today, they can take internally about their business and make the changes in their business. They can make the changes in their life, because here's the thing. The happier you are inside, the more business you do. The more connected you are to your values and what fuels or fills your give a shit tank, the more business you do. That's the point.
Yep.
So,
All right. Well, with that, since I introed, I'll outro too. Matt is just here to chat today. With that, first and foremost, if you're curious about how you join Ascension right now, and we're filming this in May of 2026, unfortunately, you can't. We only open these spots up once a year. So in October, check back in October. We will open up next year's, but follow along because we're going to be posting about it on social media, and I think it'll be fun. But in the meantime, if you guys need anything or you want to run things by us. What am I doing? I'm screwing this up. All right, we're gonna rewind. All right, thank you for joining us.
this is why I open and close. But, anyways,
I was pinch hitting today, and clearly my batting average is shit. All right, you want to close? You look like you're in a better spot.
what's up, everybody? Hey, man, this has been another Moving the Military podcast. If you're looking for more information on Ascension, if you want to know what we're doing in moving the military, if you're looking to position yourself as the authority, you know where to find us. Hit us up on the Facebook, hit us up on the website. We will see you next week when we bring another podcast to you. Peace out, everybody.
See ya.